All right, I'm back at it on the bug motor again. Yesterday I got those two end pieces welded up. And right now, before we can weld them onto the head, we need to put the intake pipe in. Because this was a dual port head. Here's one of the inlet ports that was originally used on the Volkswagen. And what we need to do is weld this tube on the back side, and we'll plug this up. So that's an 1.25 inch tube. The intake port angles back this way, so we're going to slide it back like that. Leave us enough room to probably have to notch out the end piece a little bit. Not all the way through, just make a clearance it a little bit here where it's really thick. But I want to get this welded on all the way around, because this of course got to be airtight. When I put the end piece on, we'll be welding probably right up to the tube. Since they're so close together, we won't be able to weld that little gap in between the two. But this will also be welded all the way around on the inside, so it'll be oil tight. So right now, got it positioned about where I wanted it. Left me enough room there for the end piece, so I need to mark that, and I need to drill a hole to where it'll come down into this intake. So I'm going to use a 1-inch hole saw, and then I'll enlarge it with a burr. And then once we've got all that trimmed up, then we can go ahead and cover this hole here. Marked where the tube went, marked the approximate center. Now we'll get to drilling. The casting right there, since it's been sawed in half, is not very thick, but that's okay. Now I'll enlarge that out with a burr, and then we can go to welding. Well, that wasn't too bad. Got it welded on there nicely. It was a little tricky, because right in here it's pretty thin. So that actually welded nicely because it's similar thickness of metal. Now you get over onto this side and the casting is really thick there, so you had to put a lot of heat into this and make sure you didn't just blow a hole right through your tubing. But I got it done. Had a couple of places where the weld kind of sagged on the inside, but that was easy enough to reach in through the hole there with the burr, clean that up, and then around my little flap sander and smooth everything out. So now, I think before I worry about the car, oh, and I managed to somehow get it a little bit downhill. But that's okay, I'll just make the other side a little bit downhill. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, I got to weld that Y pipe up, and then they go on with a piece of hose. So, and I cooked some of that number 2 Permatex, so that might be a little easier to get off there. Right now, I will brush that out, make sure there's nothing left in there, and then I'm going to weld this shut. I'll cut a little plug out to go there, and I'll just plug weld that. That didn't go too bad either. Just like welding over here, you've got lots of thicker parts of the casting, so you got to put a lot of heat in it. Weld ended up a little thick, but I'll just take as soon as this cools down a little more, take the flap wheel and I will level the top of that weld out with that plug. And that was like a piece of 80 thousandths aluminum I had left over from the plane. Alright, I went over that with the flap wheel and smoothed everything out, made it look a little more presentable. So that's probably all I'm going to get done on this head tonight. I'm going to go ahead and start working on that one, but it'll be just the same as this. Once I get them both to this stage, then we'll get the piece welded on the end. And side 2 is done. This is side 2. Same deal. Gave it a little bit of a downshoot since I accidentally did that on the first one. Hey, at least they're symmetrical. This side, the pipe is a little shorter per plans because this cylinder sets further back than that one. Otherwise, they're just the same. Plate over the hole, welded it on, and a straight shot up into the intake pipe. So that's all for this video. Next one should be putting the end pieces on. I get those on, and that's pretty much the end of the more difficult welding. I've still got to weld the valve covers together and stuff like that, but the aluminum stuff, the difficult stuff, pretty much be over. Then I can start working on the rocker arm assemblies. If you haven't already, I really appreciate a like and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on when I finally get this thing started. Well, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.